think some of our membership have gone there when they left our church. Not because of any doctrinal issues, just because sometimes going to the church down the road's easier than going to the church 20 miles away.
It's fine.
Yeah. Anyway, how are we doing? We're nearly done with this. Good. Yeah. Mid-autumn would be October, November. End of October, early November. Don't put that down, spin it around. Yeah, that's one of the other mods I use is the Quick Look mod, which I've mapped to the hat on my steering wheel so that I can change the angle I'm viewing by 45 degrees each time I hit left or right on the hat. Very handy little mod. It saves me from reaching out grabbing the mouse to alter my field of view. And also, because it does 45 degree segments, it does mean that it always lines up front and back if you hit it enough times. So if I'm slightly off like that, I'm not at 45 degrees there, but if I hit right, it will line up on 45, and then if I hit left again, it will actually line up the view to directly ahead. Again, another mod I seriously like using, but I can play Farm Sim without it. Well, I can't play Farm Sim without a steering wheel. I've tried that. That's very difficult. I can also play Farm Sim without GPS. Now, I got very, very used to playing Farm Sim with GPS in 17. And when 19 came out, there's no GPS when the game first comes out. And that was kind of a struggle initially, getting used to eyeballing your driving rather than just being able to set up a line and go with it. But I kind of kept that way even when the guidance steering came out, the GPS mod for 19. You have to pay for it to install it on your tractors. And so I've got a fair number of tractors that I do not have guidance steering on. I don't have guidance steering on the harvester because I can eyeball that. So I do. Or I can set it off on a worker. This tractor doesn't have guidance steering because the only field work I really use it for is ploughing, and I can eyeball that. The Valtra, in spite of the fact it's probably the cheapest tractor I have on the farm, does have guidance steering on, which adds another 25,000 to its cost. But because I'm spraying fields with it, that's its primary job. And it's very difficult, or at least before precision farming, it's very difficult to spray a field accurately and completely because you have to see the texture change of whatever you're spraying or spreading. It's just easier to plot a course with GPS. My big tractors have GPS because they do ploughing and cultivating and stuff, and primarily because my big tractors on some equipment can't do a 180 degree in the width of the equipment, so I have to do alternate rows. And if I'm doing alternate rows, then it does make sense to have GPS, so I can at least plot the start and end of each row and keep it accurate, so I'm not messing around with short rows or narrow rows. Pie Eats Pie, welcome to the Saturday stream. I am playing on PC. This is the Oakfield Farming Agency Edition version of the map, which is only available on PC. And I'm also using a ton of other what I tend to call quality of life mods, which are also only available for PC. The only console we have is a Wii, which we bought for the kids to play on. So don't really have a heavy-duty console. Plus consoles, I don't know, do they get more expensive over time? PCs do as well. This PC was incredibly expensive when we bought it a couple of years ago, so it doesn't really save money. I just find, I need PCs to do work. So it just makes sense for me to have a PC and have a gaming PC rather than a gaming console. But the basic version of this map is available through the Mod Hub. And was available in FarmSim 17, but I never played it in FarmSim 17. So when we shift on FarmSim 22, I may play a map that was already available on FarmSim 19 as the long-term series, but one that I never personally experienced whilst playing FarmSim 19. I don't know. I may go for a brand new, completely new map. But it has to be something that I like the look of and can see myself playing for a time. Probably turn the rear work. Actually, we could probably turn all the lights off since the sun's come up and we can now actually see what we're doing. Might need the lights on the Valtra when we do the spraying, because we are going to be relying on the contrast mostly. I may just bite the bullet and say, we've got GPS fitted, let's just use it. As you get closer to a new game release or new version release, you kind of want to get back into the whole free drive thing and not rely too heavily on your enhancement mods. I'm still waiting for news release on how seasons and animals are going to work in 22. Obviously, the crops themselves, I wouldn't say closely follow Realismus's seasons model, but there's definitely been included some of the basic seasons modifications. So things like prices of crops, when to plant the crops, when to harvest the crops, all of that is included in Giants seasons for 22. They're not giving us a variable length season, so one game day is one seasonal month. For the seasons mod that I'm using from 17 and 19. You have each seasonal transition, for want of a better term. You've got early, mid and late, spring, summer, autumn and winter. And that gives you 12 seasonal periods, which is the equivalent of 12 months. So we're mid-fall or mid-autumn, which would put us 21st of October through 20th of November. And okay, so we can play at a slower speed. That might mitigate it. I mean, part of the problem, and it's not a problem, it's a gameplay aspect of Seasons in 19, is it rained for an hour last night. That's no big deal. But if it's going to rain for, say, 12 hours today, I've now got a problem, because I'm going to have no time to harvest anything. And if today is the last day I can harvest corn, I completely lost my corn crop because of that. And slowing time down to 0.33 might not mitigate that. That might be, you just lost your crop. You know, have fun. But since, you know, with Seasons in Farm Sim 19, I can have 3, 9, 12, 18-day seasons. I think I can go up to 24-day seasons. If October is the last day I can harvest wheat, then I've got, the way I'm playing, I've got 3 days of October, so long as one of them isn't horrendously damp, I'm gonna have the ability or the capability of harvesting because the ground's not damp. What I'm not necessarily going to have is the time to harvest it. Giving me 0.33 time rate doesn't necessarily create more time if all it does is it if it's going to rain until 4 o'clock in the afternoon, it's going to rain until 4 o'clock in the afternoon. It doesn't matter if I'm running a times 120 time or times 0.3 time. It's still going to rain till 4 o'clock in the afternoon. But then again, maybe weather isn't going to be quite the thing it is in with Realismus's seasons, because there it rains and then you have to wait for the crop to dry, and Giants might not implement crop drying. Is basically you can't harvest when it's wet, base game. So if it's raining you can't harvest, but as soon as it stops raining you can harvest. Maybe that's how they're implementing seasons. So maybe it won't be an issue. Maybe all I have to worry about is, well, it's going to rain till 4 o'clock, but at 4 o'clock I can slow the speed down to 0.3, and that will give me enough time to harvest and collect it. Again, all things we're going to have to see when we get it. But part of the math problem that Realismus had to overcome was the cost of animals versus the number of days in seasons. And I think it's quite a heavy number cruncher in that respect, because they have implemented it so that animals eat, I mean, we could look at it. 6,200 litres of fresh grass per day when you're playing 9-day seasons. If I were playing 6-day seasons, that's going to be about 10,000 litres, and if I was playing 3-day seasons, that would be about 12,000 litres per day. They scale the food use. You can still only put 2 days worth of food in the trough, but the amount animals eat on a shorter year, on a shorter season setting, is higher per day. So your cost of feeding the animals doesn't go up if you play a longer season. Actually, we'll leave that way and we'll do this edge again. But and also the income. I'm fairly certain that milk production and wool production is calculated on a per year basis and then factored as a per day based on the number of days in the season that you're playing. I don't think Giants are going to that level of complexity, which is why they just decided it's a 1 day season and your animals will eat 1 day's worth of, or 1 month's worth of food each day. And they will produce 1 month's worth of milk per day and 1 month's worth of wool per day. And yeah, it makes the game coding much easier because you don't have to worry about the whole keeping everything functionally similar based on number of game days you selected for seasons. And where that broke down was other mods, things like horse care, the horse rider mod, where you paid 200 monies per day for each horse for a helper to ride your horse 10 minutes a day. So if you got to midnight and your horse hadn't been ridden, the horse was flagged as ridden by the horse helper. But it was 200, as we're paying here with pounds, it was £200 a day per horse. So if you played long seasons, then it effectively cost you more to have horses on your farm if you were going to use the horse helper, because you're still paying 200 per day, but the horse is only bringing in income based on the number of days in the year. So if you're playing 24-day seasons with horse helper, the original horse helper mod, you would make a loss on all your horses. But if you were paying 3-day seasons with the horse helper mod, you'd make a ton of money because your horse income was 12 times, or no, whatever it is, 8 times more per day on a 3-day season than it is on a 24-day season. Now the horse helper mods eventually got modified to play nicely with seasons so that was no longer an issue. And it was something like £200 per day if you're playing base game, but if you're playing with seasons, it was scalable based on the number of days per season that you selected. But obviously that's not an issue for Giants because they have just selected 1 day per season, and so there's no scalability there. I kind of wonder if Realismus is going to do a sort of a seasons extension mod, which gives you the ability to select number of days per season, makes all the calculations scalable, etc., etc. And that might be something they put their time to. I've got no idea. I'm not in communication with any of them. But like we have the animal extension mod, the animal pen extension mod, the animal extension mod, and all the other things out there. You know, having an extension mod for seasons for Farm Sim 22 isn't necessarily outside the realms of possibility, and maybe it would be nice to have, but again, it's not necessary. Okay, let's have a look at how our field looks. I suppose we could go and deal with that. So, yeah. But as I said, we haven't had any word on how animals are going to work with new seasons, whether there's going to be a breeding period like the seasons mod in 19 and 17, or whether they're just going to be, again, back to, oh, you've got 20 animals, so you get one new cow per 8.3 hours, or whatever. There we go, got everything. No, that was right. We put it back in transport mode and go back to the farm. And I think they've covered most of what everybody wants to hear, so it's not that they're not telling us stuff. And they've told us that animals are going to be a little bit more interested in what you're doing. And that's something I've noticed watching cattle and dairy farmers on YouTube. You know, you drive a truck into the middle of a field and all the cows come over to see what you're doing. And it's quite funny, but you know, cows are very inquisitive. If you do something outside of their normal routine, obviously driving past a field in a tractor, they're like, yeah, we see that every day. But if you pull the tractor into the field with something on the back, they all eventually wander over and come and investigate what's happening. And apparently part of the changes to animal behaviour in Farm Sim 22 is going to be that animals come and you unload the feeder and the animals come over and start to actually feed. Oh, the food's here, we best go get it. And that's kind of realistic. Apparently there's supposed to be collisions on animals or something like that. I think most of the time, most of the giants animal enclosures don't have a requirement for us to drive through their enclosures, so that's not necessarily going to be a thing. But where you're just buying a shed to put animals in and a field, and you have to drive into the field like we do on this map to feed everything, then animals coming over and getting in your way is going to be a thing. That bale trailer looks like it's a little off kilter there. I think the problem I was having earlier trying to put this in travel mode was, put it into this mode. I wasn't giving it long enough. There's quite a big delay between pushing the button and it actually rotating to use position, or in this case park position. Alright, and disconnect. There we go. So I think the case is now good. We are done. Gonna nudge that over a bit. Looks like it's wandered. I am having issues with some equipment wandering around the map. I thought I put this... No, there's not a lot of room at the back, so maybe... let's run down the other side, it's going to be easier. I am kind of against the wall. Okay. That's fine. Maybe it was just me bad parking and parked too far away from the wall, but I'd like to get the semi-cart in there as well. Although I don't, the thing is I don't have to, because we're going to be using the semi-trailer all through winter. Also going to nudge that out of the way as well. Oh. Let's see if I can hook the weight around it. There. Well, it's sort of kind of better than it was. What I might need to do there is use the pump in the... use the pump in the sprayer to try and get those tanks reset. Okay, I need to turn the lights off. And I need to go and find the Valtra, which should be right there. Okay, so now I should be able to see what we are spraying. Now, I don't think this field actually has any any weeds on it. So, do I go... We'll see. I am not seeing any difference there at all. So I'm going to hazard that that's not working because we've already done our one application of liquids on this field with liquid fertilizer. However, this clover field over here should benefit, and it might actually be short enough that I can see the texture again. So, oh, stop rolling, go back.